everyone, welcome back to Sweet Girl Farms YouTube channel. Today is really exciting. We are at the end of May and I'm going to start planting more sunflowers. So if you want to stick around to see how I do that, then just keep on watching. Alright guys, so I wanted to show you how I do my transplants for the sunflowers, and I have my sunflower tray here. So what ended up happening is a misfortune of the heat. We had left the tray in the middle of the field, and unfortunately some of the sunflowers have burnt, and they might come back but they might not. So we're gonna work with the other ones that we have that are doing better, and we're gonna transplant those. But I wanted to show you guys first my transplant tray. The other thing that I noticed for my sunflower tray is that not all of them came up, and that was because some of the birds got to them and actually pecked my seeds out. So that's why it's not all evenly sprouted. So that kind of sucks. So just a tip for you guys, if you are doing your sunflower transplants, or I mean any seed for that matter that has, you know, that you put in your trays, just watch out for birds and mice and any other creature that might be eating your seeds. That might be a possibility of why your seeds are not sprouting. And also just be careful when it reaches really hot temperatures. Don't let your seedlings dry, because there's not a lot of moisture that can be held in each little cube here. So then that's also another factor that contributes to affecting your seedlings, and also it affects how well it'll do once it's in the field. You want the healthiest transplants that you can have, so that you have the best success rate. So we're gonna go ahead and transplant right now, but I'll show you a patch that I've already done, and it's been doing well so far. We're gonna spike in heat in the middle of this week, so for us that's above the 100 degree mark. But sunflowers do really well in the heat, so I'll go ahead and show you that. Okay guys, so I brought you in closer to my patch here that I've already transplanted. In this bed I have 3 irrigation lines, and the middle one is going to be dedicated for my sunflowers, and these were transplanted from the tray that I've been showing you guys like 2 days ago, and this is how they're doing. So there's some that are smaller, there's some that are bigger, but so far so good. So as long as you irrigate your sunflowers, and when they're at this stage, then they should survive 100 degree weather. And I want to let you guys know that because it can help you in terms of planning out your flower farm, and also in terms of figuring out what flowers are the best for your climate and temperatures. So yeah, just wanted to show you guys that, and that's the progress, and we're gonna continue the middle row and keep transplanting the sunflowers that we have left. Alrighty, so I have my tray here, and I'm gonna start poking the transplants out. I literally just found a stick that fits underneath my tray, and the back of the tray looks like this. There's a whole bunch of holes. You can see some of the roots already starting to come out of the tray. That's when you know that your plants are getting too big for the tray and they need to be transplanted as soon as possible. So if you could see here, there's one where the roots are coming out. Yeah, there's plenty that already have the roots coming out. So I want to get to these sunflowers as soon as possible, and that's why we're transplanting them now. So I take my stick and then poke through the hole of the tray, and then they should easily pop out. And here's our first transplant. There's some sun damage there, so it's okay. I know it'll make it through. It has good root structure. So I'm gonna start placing those in the middle of the field, and I'm gonna keep doing this process so that I can get my seedlings out, and then we're gonna transplant them into the ground. Should we do a fast? Okay guys, so we popped out the transplants from the tray, most of them but not all, and I want to show you, I have my transplants here. This is what they look like after I pop them out, and I kind of just laid them here so I can grab them and start putting them in the ground. So a few details that I want to go over when you're doing your transplanting is depending on how big you want your sunflower to be, that's how much space I've noticed that you should leave. So what that means is if you want a big sunflower, they usually will have thicker stems. So sometimes that's not so convenient for florists because the stems are too thick and take up too much room in a bouquet, but they will give you bigger sunflowers. So if that's your goal, to get the biggest sunflower possible, then I can recommend that you leave a bigger space between each sunflower transplant. Now, if your goal is to have slimmer stems, then you want to plant your sunflowers closer together. My rule of thumb has usually been to leave around 7 to 8 inches between each sunflower. I've done closer than that and it's worked out fine, but it also depends on the variety of sunflower that you have. So there's some sunflowers that are branching varieties, and what that is each sunflower will give you several sunflowers. So each stalk will give you several flowers. Single stem varieties will only produce one main sunflower. They might have little buds on the side of the stems, but it'll be one main sunflower that will have that will grow out of that single stem. And with those varieties, I've experimented and I've done as close as 6 inches and it worked out perfectly. But with this new variety that I have, I did 6 inches and the sunflowers were smaller than I anticipated, and I don't like that. So I'm gonna leave a bigger space between each transplant, roughly around 8 inches. So that's just some of the background information that I wanted to leave with you guys, and that's what I'm doing here with these transplants. Around 8 inches is what I'm doing. So I'm hoping that it's a medium-sized sunflower with the stem not too thick but not too thin either, sturdy enough for them to be in a bouquet, but not so wide where they take over the entire bouquet and the bouquet just is too big to handle. So those are the details. You're gonna see me how I transplant them. So yeah, that'll be the next step. I'm digging, I want to say like maybe 3 inches below the ground, making sure that the sunflower is well placed into the soil, and putting the sunflower there. I want my sunflower to have a good what would I call it? A foundation, I guess. So what I mean by that is making sure that my sunflower goes deep in enough into the ground to where when they grow, since sunflowers do grow pretty tall, that it won't flop over when it's fully mature. So I do dig deep around 3 inches. I want to say 3 to 4, and then put the sunflower in. So I'll show you again. That deep, and then I make sure that my root goes in nicely, and then put the dirt back in like that. This one is a little shorter, but it's okay. I just want to make sure that it's well placed in the ground so that they don't flop over when they start growing nice and tall. And we keep going. guys, so we've made some progress on our sunflower transplant, and you can see what we've done already. It's this entire row in the middle, and it's looking pretty good. We still have transplants to get through, but you can see how beautiful it already looks in the middle. So sunflowers typically take like 2 months around to reach their maturity, 2 to 3 months, depending on the weather. So right now we're gonna get close to our summer season, so that's gonna help the sunflowers grow pretty rapidly. And then from there, yeah, we'll wait. And also I want to mention that the interplanting, so having different crops in the same bed, has been working out really well. I haven't seen any effect on the sunflower production, and I can tell by this sunflower that's right here. These are volunteers from last season, and they've grown really well. I had peas here. I believe this is an Autumn Beauty variety, and this is what I had mentioned earlier, that there's branching varieties. So there's this sunflower gives you a lot of sunflower, and you can take advantage of that. I'm not a huge fan of the branching varieties, so I like single stem, like this one. This is a single stem variety. It doesn't have any other flowers coming out on the sides, and that will only produce one flower. So there's advantages to the single stem in that they give you a nice size sunflower if you space them out correctly and give you the desired diameter. And then the branching sunflowers, the advantage of that is that they take up less room and give you more flowers per stalk. So it really comes down to your preference and see what you like. You have to experiment with the different varieties. But so far, this is it. That's how we do the transplants for the sunflowers. And I'm gonna have a few beds dedicated to just sunflowers since it's such a popular flower. And then pretty much just wait until it's harvest time. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you guys like this video and that it gives you some insight and information on how I do my flower farm here at Sweet Girl Farms. And if you guys have any questions or comments, just leave them down below and then I'll try to get to them as soon as possible. But for the moment, this is it. So thank you guys. Take care.